All right, in the headlines starts now. Hashtag still remains to be Good Morning Kenya on Twitter, at KBC Channel 1, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at Victor Oloo, at Doreen, at Regina Manyara, and Jain Wambui is how you can also find us individually across the socials. In the headlines, that is how the front page of the Daily Nation is looking like today. Quite busy. But starting with the story here on the head in regards to the Wambui brothers, justice for Wambui brothers, as 6 police officers are arraigned. That has been covered on page 10. We'll be giving you those details in a bit. Moving to conversations about COVID-19, the question is whether Kenya has lost track of the COVID-19 deaths, because it has become very apparent to the ministry that there are so many deaths that are occurring under the home-based care that are not being reported to the relevant authorities and of course consequently to the Ministry of Health. And then again, the question of many students having failed to take up varsity slots, which is something that the CS was key to acknowledge and appreciate, that there were at least 14,000 students who qualified for university but opted to forego these courses, with a huge majority choosing to go for TVET, to go to TVET institutions and take up some of these courses, just bringing this narrative that the attitude that has been there, which has been a problem when it comes to the uptake of TVET courses, is slowly but surely fading away. Now, coming to the main read, the political hardball as battle lines are being drawn. Leaders and parties pull in different directions in the race for the 2022 presidential bid. Now, this story goes on to mention the different alliances that are potentially in the mix. We have Jubilee ODM pre-election coalition talks are ongoing that are being endorsed by the party's top organ. Oka, on the other hand, fails to name its flag bearer as it digs on a possible deal with Raila Odinga, but they say they will not say anything until we get to hear on the BBI ruling. Then there is Ruto in Gusii in a bid to end rifts among allies as he seeks to wrest region from ODM. And of course, the fourth alliance enters in, that is Muhisa Kituyi, Justin Muturi, and Kivutha Kibwana with their alliance. That is the front page of the Daily Nation for you, Victor.
All right, and on the Star, it's slightly different. Let me just show you what the Star is studying there. The rise and fall of Matatu King, quote unquote, Sonko. The rise and fall of Matatu King. Ex-governor forced his way to City Hall, elite fought back, and Kenyatta got involved. That is what's making on the front line of the Star newspaper. You can take a look at that story. And still on the Kianjokoma brothers, 6 cops linked to the death of the brothers detained for 2 weeks. 6 police officers linked to the killing of 2 Wambui brothers 2 weeks ago have been detained for 14 days. That is the death of Benson Jiru and Emmanuel Mutura has caused an uproar in the country, with Kenyans escalating, calling for justice. That is what's happening there. They were arraigned yesterday at the Milimani Law Court, and right now they're still under police custody for further investigations. And still on that education matters, as Jen has put it, over 13,000 with C+ and above snub university places. That is more than 13,000 students who sat the 2020 KCSE exam and qualified for state sponsorship in university places have snubbed the opportunity. Now, some 142,540 candidates qualified, but only 128,073 students were placed to pursue degree courses. That is from the Ministry of Education. And still in education matters, school heads to refund illegal levies or carry them over to Term 2. The government has ordered public secondary schools heads to refund the extra fees levied to parents. The Ministry of Education said in a circular that school heads can keep the money but ensure that it is considered part of second term fees. The circular was signed by Education Principal Secretary Paul Kibet. Now that is some good news to the parents who cried foul when the schools reopened a few weeks ago, and now they can have the sigh of relief. Something for Kenya to smile about. Kenya to benefit from 800 billion shillings to fight COVID-19 Delta variant. Now, Kenya will benefit from the $7.7 billion. That is 800 billion shillings global effort to fight COVID-19 and carry out a study on emerging variants. Now, the fundraising appeal is led by the Access to COVID-19 Tools Accelerator, that is ACT Accelerator, a global coalition of groups developing and deploying the new diagnostics, treatment and vaccines needed to end the acute phase of the pandemic. Now, some sad story there from the Ogiek family. Ogiek hopes deem as first senator dies in a road crash. That is Victor Prengei, who succumbed to his injuries in Nakuru on Monday night following a road accident. That is what's making on the Star. We'll tell you more as we continue with the program. Regina.
So a sneak peek of the Standard Matters politics taking center stage, and it is a season and a time, so to speak. Not Christmas. Yes, it's not the season for giving, not Christmas. We're talking about...
It's Christmas for the politicians.
Well,
we can
yes, well, let me say unfortunately, because in as much as it's Christmas for them, but is Wanjiku ready? Have we done civic education enough that Wanjiku understands that she is the ultimate employer, and we are supposed to set the bar very high for those who are supposed to take up these offices come 2022, because they're there to serve ourselves. From where I sit, man, we have a great long journey to go. And even just around the corner, Victor, the BBI verdict will be out on Friday. That is the 20th of August, 2021.
And the expectations are so high.
But does Wanjiku know what is contained in that particular document? Remember, even the news, we were told different counties received different documents. The media has been talking about the BBI. But have we told the persons who are going to put a tick or cross it off from their list, to-do list, what is exactly contained in that particular document? We have failed. Custodians, and I speak this with a lot of humility and sincerity as being a person who works within the media. When I was in school, I was told that the media should be the guard dog of society.
Watchdog.
Yes, and the watchdog too. But I feel we have not done our due diligence in as far as the public is concerned, to tell them this is the certified document. This is what has been included in the document. This is what you need to know. We have gone with what the politicians have said is contained in the document, to the disadvantage of Wanjiku. Nonetheless, the front page of the Standard looks like this. It is Matters Politics, and I want to quote what Raila Odinga, the ODM party leader, has said. We shall soon unveil the vehicle that has the space for the diversity of Kenyans to the promised land. We must fix this country, its systems, its politics, then its economy. Whenever I hear vehicle, I ask myself, how many vehicles have we boarded as Kenyans to the promised land?
And we've never reached there.
Is this Canaan really? Canaan is the land of milk and honey. Is 2022 going to deliver?
It's not even a vehicle anymore, it's an entourage. It's a fleet.
I think it's even a train.
We keep boarding and we've never reached this canal that we keep on talking about.
Alighting, we board. Unfortunately, we don't even alight at choice at the picked destination.
In imaginary ride.
We do not board. We board by force.
We don't
disembark by force.
No, Ray.
We don't even disembark.
Have we stopped to consider this could be an imaginary ride? We are going in circles for 40 years like the Israelites.
Wow. And then if this is the journey, the epic journey that the Israelites took, and you see when you read the story about the Israelites, God guided them. In night, he guided his people with a ball of fire. During the day, because it was a desert, God provided a cloud to give them cover. I think we need such.
Because you're just going without proper coverage.
Oh, the sound guy calls me a pastor. I want to tell you that, well, I'm a Christian. Despite
You
what
know
I
your
say
word.
here, I know my Bible.
Regina, hallelujah.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
So that's wake up.
Hallelujah. Yes, we read our Bible. Hi. Nyam Somi.
You know, you're speaking about Pastor Ray. Before, this is just a side show, but there's actually a piece about a Kenyan who is in the UK going about parading COVID-19 oil.
Ha. But that began a long time ago.
We'll be getting to that in a bit.
Ayangu ni legit. You can
Yako ni legit.
You can
And you don't
read
have
the
oils.
book. You can read the book. Actually, it starts from the Exodus. It's about the journey. The Exodus is about, you know, the people of Israel moving. Actually, the Old Testament is great stories that we can read. I mean, if you enjoy reading, not just Facebook, you can read actually a book and read your Bible. Why not?
And you know, actually, there's this page on Instagram that has sort of tried to make the Bible verses a bit more relatable to this generation, where they give you how the actual verse has been written and then they translate it to Generation Z lingo.
Oh,
So let me read for you one verse.
But I think we
Let me give you an
Can it
example.
quote a verse? The sound guy Okinyi is requesting that Victor
Yes.
Oloo
So there's an example
quotes a verse.
for
He thinks he doesn't read
Psalms
the
chapter
Bible.
6 verse 3, which says, when I am afraid, I put my trust in you. Now, how Generation Z would understand it is, when I'm tripping, you're the homie I hit up.
Oh.
As long as the
Okay.
message is home.
I think I am not on that generation. Victor, you're not off the hook. Tell us, just give us a Bible verse. Moja tu.
Jesus wept.
I knew you'd say. I can't
That is a
expect it.
common Bible
That's the
verse.
only one, because it's the shortest
Verse.
Bible verse.
You asked
And
me for a verse
anyone
in the
knows
Bible.
Iko tu sawa, aya Doreen.
As what? A Bible verse.
But
It
then,
is.
Regina,
Yes.
on that note, what Jen is trying to say, are we trying to make, are we trying to just to make it so easy for people to understand the good book? Because one, if the generation, then
We forgive you for being
I need some
Jalu.
fun around here.
We
Some fun
withdraw
around
and
here.
apologize. Let's move on from this side.
His roots just showed up.
Calm down,
We now
Bwana.
totally know where you come from.
Forgive me for that. Forgive me for that. South Sudan.
We apologize.
You do not need to apologize. You do not need to apologize.
Your roots represented you very well.
We are here. South Sudan is where
We are sorry on your behalf.
that generation that Jen is talking about.
Generation Z.
Yes. You know, the whole point is the Bible was not meant for you just to internalize and interpret it just the way you can read a newspaper and understand
Yes.
this person said this and this person said this and that was it. An agreement was made like that. It was put in certain way that you have to dig deep each and every day for you to understand it.
It's me.
But if it's so open for you, like an open book where you read from this chapter, Victor move from there, you move to there, the particular point, and that's the end of the story, then I believe at the end of the day, hatungekuwa, what people would say, hatungekuwa na ile urge to dig deep and know God more. Because this generation, man, everything is just easy.
But I think that Instagram page is just doing right, because I mean, look at this generation of us. If you really don't like translate these things and make it easier, people might never even get interest. And I feel also that's
people
why
should fight hard to get the kingdom of God, not get it so easy.
You see, when we had King James Version, it was translated to New King James Version. At least just make it easier for you to perhaps understand some of these things. So it's not as bad as it may. It's just okay.
When it comes to that translation bit, which I think is also what Regina was raising about the BBI, that is where we lose the original meaning to what we end up understanding in that translation process.
Exactly.
Because even when it comes to the Bible, as we are talking about, what even in some services, and this is something that has been seen on online, what is written is not always what the pastor or the one who is preaching actually communicates. In some cases, interpretation is different for everyone.
Let me throw some spanner into the works.
I think that's the same issue with the BBI, Regina, as you say it. what the common mwananchi, there are many that have not even seen those copies that were going round. We are only told by our politicians, this is what it says because they have been able to interact with it. And in that translating and hearsay, we lose the original message, again going back to what communication is. What is communicated and what is understood by the one who's being communicated to.
That is it. And Friday is just a few days away. And you're going to get that verdict. And yes, whatever comes our way, I'd want to challenge you and I. And actually the IEBC in this point, and the authorities at B, we need to have this document availed the way we avail other government issues, you know? It needs to be made public out there so that people can interact with the document before we make the ultimate decision. Because this decision is going to change our trajectory as a country. And it's going to affect not just this generation, but also future generations. There have been observers who said that when it came to the Constitution, we did not have the requisite information, core information, what is pertained in the Constitution 2010. But we had campaigns, we had chungwa, we had all that, yes, and we voted with the new dispensation. But how many of us have interacted with that document? How many of us? Viral videos are going. We're having viral videos where Kenyans are standing up to the authorities and saying, I know my rights. But do you? Do you know your rights? That's a question. Let's ponder on that. Well, that's what we have on the front page of the Standard. I'm sorry, we diverged. We went to the Bible, but you see, when you hear the Promised Land, the one that we know as a Christian is Canaan. And I remember this conversation about Kwenda Canaan was the same narrative that was told to us when we were talking about the last general election. Those who are going to Canaan. So Canaan may be coming. We never know. We will be keeping tabs.
We're still on the journey to Canaan.
Now I hear it's a vehicle, but Victor says it's an entourage. We might be boarding a train.
Victor, SDA wanaimbanga nilifurahia waliponiambia twende nyumbani mwa baba.
Hatujafika hapo bado.
Nilifurahia waliponiambia twende nyumbani mwa baba. Twende nyumbani mwa baba. Twende nyumbani mwa baba. Twende.
Quick one, by the way. How come we've had the Bible translated in so many other languages, but the Quran remains as it has been?
Okay. Ponder on that.
Doreen, to you, Doreen.
You don't want us to discuss that. Okay, on the front page of the People's Daily this morning, we obviously have that story of the four in Kitengela, just with the main header, suspect in Kitengela killings now held, where the police are holding livestock broker whom they claim they led in the lynching of the 4 men. And also in the same breath, it's coming across that cops are also being accused of sleeping on the job as insecurity cases soar in that area. So that means that perhaps you have a lot happening in Kitengela, just aside from the Kitengela 4 who were killed. And coming to matters education, university selection, how schools failed candidates, that is the caption there, just highlighting and what also the CS highlighted yesterday of how secondary schools failed to guide the students there in choosing perhaps the right courses, just trying to say that a good chunk or a majority of them ended up choosing what you call the traditional courses, perhaps the likes of medicine thereabout. And there are so many other courses that perhaps if they had been guided well and proper, they could have known how well to choose. And also when it comes to that, the school's failure is in how they failed to submit those courses that the students that had chosen. There's also details of that will be coming in a short while. Coming to politics, making of coalitions where the president summons Raila and Oka leaders to Mombasa on a day politicians were falling over themselves, crafting 2022 deals, a move that the DP thinks is farcical. This story just took a big chunk of the PD this morning from page 6 all through 8, highlighting on these issues of politics. Perhaps if I can just pick a bite on what the DP has said there, is that the era of political endorsements is over. How will I fail to defeat them if you are still coalescing in tribal outfits? That is what the Deputy President is saying there. So just I'll give you more details on that in just a short while, on what the People's Daily has highlighted this morning when it comes to that particular issue, as well as the various stories on matters politics. And coming to health, the state is set to receive the biggest jab consignment yet. Remember that as of yesterday, we were talking about how the state is saying that the civil servants need to take the COVID-19 vaccine, and how some civil servants are retreating from that. But also, the state is also in a bid to just try and ensure that by December, 10 million adults need to be vaccinated. And again, this article also highlights the various ways they have put in place to ensure that actually when it comes to December, that will be achieved.
All right, we take a very quick breather. We'll be back to give you those details that we have promised you. Stay with us.
Yeah, just to tell you that what we'll be discussing off air, we were talking about this issue of the Bible. Regina still insists that something has to be done. Generation Z or Z, go to church and seek the kingdom of God, and anything else
shall be added unto you.
That is what the good book says. And by the way, somebody said that in future, we will stop having prayerful mothers and fathers. Remember those days when your mother would wake up at 3 a.m. calling each and every person's name in the family and the prayer points, and and she would pray until 6 a.m. Then you wake up, prepare for you the food, and you go breakfast, go to school. Fathers would wake up and start calling all his uncles, and, So anyway, that was just that. Let's all pray. It doesn't matter the kind of supreme being you believe in, but pray. All right, back to politics. Raila, giant political machine is coming. That is according to ODM leader Raila Odinga. Now, ODM leader Raila Odinga says that a gigantic political machine is on the way. He declared yesterday that the journey has begun for a mass movement to the promised land. He spoke in Nakuru for the first time, storming Deputy President William Ruto's Rift Valley turf. Now, Raila made national unity, restoration of the economy, and eradicating graft major planks of his presidential bid. That is what is marking there. And in the next hour, we'll be talking more on that with the political analysts, just for us to understand what this entails and that what it portends to that particular declaration. And there's a piece here, why Kenyatta chose ODM for union with Jubilee. Now, the party's strengths, according to the analyst, the party's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats were closely scrutinized alongside parliamentary presence, all of which favored Raila Odinga-led party. Now, in politics, they say that in politics, it's the numbers that matter. It was self-evident that the four of the parties, ODM has the strongest grassroots presence. That is according to the Jubilee insider who talked to this particular newspaper. All right, Raila was in Nakuru yesterday. One Kenya Alliance principals resolved to field a presidential candidate next year. Now, members agreed to roll out an array of joint public engagement activities, and the One Kenya team, Alliance team, that's Principals Summit and Joint Parliamentary Group, assembled at the Great Rift Valley Lodge in Naivasha for a 2-day retreat. They deliberated on reports submitted by the technical team before issuing the Great Rift Valley Declaration. That is quote unquote, Great Rift Valley Declaration. Okay, now the meeting came barely a week after President Kenyatta told OKA, that is One Kenya Alliance Principals, to take on DP, to rally behind Raila Odinga to take on DP come next year. What we understand is that President Kenyatta has also convened another meeting with the One Kenya Alliance principals and ODM leader Raila Odinga today at State House in Mombasa, ostensibly as a follow-up to what they discussed last week and probably what should happen in the coming days. Before I hand you over to Jen, Muturi, Mohisa, Kibwana in coalition talks. We saw that in our earlier story, which was compiled by a reporter. The three who have declared presidential bids to form National Alliance for Change in efforts to woo voters. Jen.
Now, let me just pick up on that political note and just add on to what you've already mentioned, given it's the main read here on the front page of the Daily Nation, the political hardball and, of course, battle lines being drawn, usivuke laini, and alliances. So just to add on to what you've already said in regards to Oka failing to name a flag bearer, according to a source who attended this two-day conference, they failed to name a flag bearer because none of them is willing to step down for the other, and hence the choice of flag bearer was shelved to allow for more talks. And then again, looking at the BBI ruling, which is set to take place this Friday, is set to have a hand when it comes to the flag bearer that is expected to be named. And this means that the September date that they had earlier set when it comes to the presidential candidate for Oka is going to be pushed further and further. Now, when it comes to the fourth force, that is Muturi, Kituni, and Kibwana alliances, it is said that the outfit that they're going to put together is going to be called the National Alliance for Change, NAC. And when, of course, they were addressing journalists, they say that having worked together before, they are sure and they intend to depart from chaotic and divisive politics to chart a new path for Kenya. Those were the words of Muturi in regards to that. So that is that in terms of politics. But allow me to move away from politics and bring in this piece here. There is, of course, an update in regards to justice for the brothers after the 6 police were arraigned in court and consequently detained to allow for investigations. But now there's an opinion piece here that is quite interesting. Let me just pull it up in regards to police brutality that we have been seeing becoming such a common trend in this day and time. So this piece by Arasa talks of how we need to change the police curriculum in order to end brutality. And I don't know what you guys think about this, because as per this piece, it seems that the curriculum taught at the National Police Service colleges has become too old to fit into modern times. Now, the number of civilians that are dying at the hands of law enforcers is on an upward trajectory, and it's definitely worrying. So this calls for a revision of the training to make the policing unit a copper-bottomed service and not a ruthless force. The culture of killing suspects instead of taking them to court has no basis whatsoever. Now, they go on to talk of how police probably kill to instill fear and show their might, which is contrary to what they are supposed to be doing when it comes to any chaotic situation. They are, or rather, they are supposed to be trained to limit civil disorder and not the civilians to be the ones try to bring peace in such conversations, because many at times we see videos circulating, confrontations between the police and civilians, and it always results to chaotic situations. But amid all this condemnation, we still have to acknowledge that there are those that are diligently doing their work. I don't know what you guys think about this. You know, does it, from this particular piece, it indicates, you know, what they are being taught in these police colleges could be a bit outdated, and it needs to be a revision of what is taught in also these police colleges.
Well, for me, I think it's just a change of culture. Police officers, basically, their main core mandate is to protect. And, you know, they also know that, you know, killing someone is a crime. That's why when you kill someone, they arrest you. So it should also apply to them that when a civilian or a citizen or perhaps somebody dies in the hands of a police officer, then at some point you have to take responsibility. There is no way about it. The same way they do investigations when certain things happen, like when somebody kills one another, or murder for that case, they also have to face charges. And as police officers, I think, I don't know, I don't know what happens at police training colleges, but I think it's quite imperative to note that when they go out there, the relationship between the citizen and the police should be that watertight, that when I see a police officer, I should feel more safe going to report or running to a police officer to seek help, instead of having that wide gap between the citizens and the cops.
But you know, this goes to just talk, or rather bring to light the issues that we tend to overlook. We presume that given you are in, that's why I think it was even changed from police force to the service.
Yes.
You know, to just try and get rid of this mentality that could, or rather is there when it comes to the police. We presume that all of them have people skills, which I think is essential rather, in some of these career paths that we choose to take. This is a path that involves interacting with civilians. I mean, that is your responsibility, to take care and ensure peace and calm in order to ensure the safety of the civilian. But people skills is slowly but surely becoming a reality that so many of us do not have.
But just in 1 second, did you know that there are so many problems that do not need violence to be solved?
So many.
Yeah. So you just need to talk to someone.
Doreen.
Yeah, I just want to say that perhaps that could be a good move in terms of maybe changing that curriculum, because there was a time also there were talks of at least trying to introduce counseling in the police service. And you see, and we also, I think we've had this conversation before, like when you look at the police and even sometimes what they have to deal with, some are even sent into risky areas. So that, you know, that counseling, that training, that learning, sometimes it becomes, I mean, because of the places in which they have gone to and the things they have seen, there's that ability of feeling, okay, what is even blood? You know, what is shooting? What is killing? So maybe if we change that curriculum and even introduce counseling and even teach these police how to deal and relate with with civilians, because they're also humans, with civilians, then perhaps we could be speaking of different things. Because oftentimes, and just away from even COVID, because you've seen during COVID of how many people have had to die in the hands of police, just away from that, I mean, on normal times, how many people also lose their lives just in the hands of police? And I think perhaps that could be a good move, just trying to change the curriculum, trying to make them learn how to deal, interact, react even in like tough instances, difficult instances, just learning how to sort of like relate and work with people one-on-one. And
you know, just Ray, before you come in, this takes me back to the conversation that we had this Monday here with the Media Council of Kenya, because they are looking to bring, you know, these modules for practicing journalists in terms of keeping up with these emerging trends. Because number one, how many of us were taught on how to report on cases involving children and abuse? It is not something that you are actively taught in school, but given it is something that has emerged when it comes to sexual violence against children, it is a whole area that needs to be addressed critically in a way that acknowledges the sensitivity of the matter. Issues to do with climate change. Were we taught in campus how to report about climate change? No, you were generally taught on how to report and put a piece together. But looking at the emerging trends, it is something that you have to adjust, you adopt, and adapt. And I think it's the same even with our police. It's not about changing the whole curriculum. It's about adjusting to some of these emerging trends. Ray,
let me ask you a question. As you come in, Ray, answer this. Police officers take almost, right now it's around 9 months for the training, and they're being trained on how to deal with so many situations that may arise in their line of duty, riot, how to, you know, first aid, all this. They also go to class, by the way. But the question is, Ray, who will teach the citizens on how to relate with the police officers?
Before I answer your question, let me take issue with the recruitment exercise that we have in this country. I mean, we see how the recruitment goes. They check height, teeth, I don't know what not.
Physicals.
Yeah, uniformity. Yeah.
Physically fit.
That's given, Regina.
Yeah, the physicals.
There's no doubt about that.
The
right?
physicals. Let's look at it. But we also do we look at the credentials?
Yeah.
Do we look at
it's changed.
or we just take a certain grade you are in?
It's changed.
Now, do they pick people who have always aspired to be in the police service? Or is the police service seen just as an end to a means, as the last option? Because what I go for is the passion, the zeal to serve, Wanjiko. Or are they, or these persons who are recruited, that is the last resolve that they had in life? Because that also has to play a key role. Because for a person living, breathing, to shoot, to kill someone who is unarmed, for a person who has mental faculties that are working correct, right? Son of man, son of a woman, to hit someone in the head with a blunt object, and that's a baton, and they die. For some to even loan guns licensed to them, to thieves and thugs, and they very well know, man, that is not a person who picked that as a career. It was not a career choice.
It was what was
they did
available.
not have passion for it. They picked it because it was the last thing, or rather their last option. So for me, I go after the recruitment. Can we start from there? The people we are recruiting to join the police service, let them be people who have passion, who are ready to be dedicate their lives to service, not to better themselves, not to hold positions of power so that they can finyilia Wanjiko.
Regina.
Because, you know?
Regina, before you slap someone,
I'm just saying, because it starts from there. If I have no passion to be a journalist, please, I shouldn't even be here. But I picked that. But I am here.
But you have to
because
give it,
I pursued this. Let's look at police service, Victor, for me, as a career path. Are you getting?
Not
so that
just
we
what
can
is
have
available.
the people who are not just qualified because of their physicals and their grading and such, but who have a passion to serve.
Yeah.
But then maybe then we'll change.
But again, Regina, I think it also depends with the mentality. We know when you leave police college, people pick things differently in life. There are slow learners, there are quick learners, there are, people pick.
There is no justification to maiming and killing. There is no learning to that.
That's what I'm talking about.
You're not, Victor, you're not enculturated to understand.
My point is, there are good police officers out there.
I agree.
You will walk out. Some are literally good. You'll have a problem and they will serve you in a record time. Now, those are the people who, when you look at that lot, they stand out. And those are the people who get promoted because even their bosses are able to see someone is somewhere, doing a particular job pretty well. But there are some people who have that mentality that ni raia una deal naye in this particular manner. And that's why we have such kind of, not all police officers are bad.
I agree.
Some are good. But that mentality switch is what should be instilled, so that mwananchi should also be told, polisi akikwambia simama, simama.
Wacha nikwambie, wacha tuongee ukweli, Victor.
Yes.
let's put it as it is.
Mware.
Today, askari hata akikusimamisha kwa traffic, even when it is raining, and this is something that has happened, I have observed. It is raining, they are trying to direct traffic, they are getting rained on. Trust me, hakuna raia anasimamanga hapo karibu anatoa mwavuli anapea askari. Why? Because you're so worried that even if I slow down next to this cop,
atatafuta shida.
Itakuwa shida. Your wheels are zimeran off, ninze, ama sijui license yako. That antipathy
to
the police service. Victor, let me finish.
Yes.
Because the situation on ground, the situation on ground, ni ati askari pale, my friend, akikusimamisha, you need to take off as fast as possible. Maswali later. Maybe this cop needed your assistance. And that's why I like this campaign that was launched on social media by a certain cop. anaitwa Ondimu who says askari ni binadamu, because the situation on ground sahi askari akikusimamisha unaanza kutafuta ni ID sina,
ni nini nimefanya,
nimechele, am I in the wrong place, you know, hadi swali yako ya kwanza ni afande nimefanya nini, you know, you're already second guessing yourself. And for us to change that mindset, Victor, we have to start from the recruiting process. We need to pick people who are passionate about service and dedicated to the crown. Yes? Kwa sababu, in as much as we know that they are great people, I have had to go to the police station a couple of times, and I have met equally good and equally terrible. That if you tell them this is what has happened, they look at you like, okay, and they dismiss you. At that point, yet you find someone who is going to tell you, madam, ati shida iko wapi? Aya, enda pale, chukua ile form, jaza hii, kuja hapa. I have experienced both.
Regina,
we need to do something from the recruitment.
You're raising a very good point that we need to do something from the recruitment. But the thing is, now we are here. We are already here. We have those different sets of police, like the way you're mentioning. You have the good one. You have those ones that you can't even interact with. So perhaps the question should even be, now since you're already here, we can change that maybe from now going on. But sasa tuko hapa saizi, what can we do about where we are right now? What can we do to change that mentality, perhaps on the police service and even on civilians? Because I mean, what you're saying is very correct. Sometimes hata unatembea tu kwa barabara, then a police calls you. You begin wondering, okay, ni nini natembea tu, ni nini nimefanya? So you see, I think it needs also to be both ways, civilian, the way Victor mentioned, and also the police service. And then also that thing that the police was saying, the service was saying that they want to introduce trainings and counselings to the police force in terms of even the mental faculty and mental capacity, then perhaps that could be a good move. My thinking, that could be a good move, because we are already here, we're already living with those police, we already have them, those that are not human enough, those that don't even think civilians are people, that's why they can clobber you anytime, they can shoot you anytime. So maybe we need to begin from that trainings of where we already are. Then now moving forward, we can start from the recruitment process as we move forward, just to change the whole perspective, the whole narrative of the police service.
Because even our director here, Doreen Martin, is pointing out the fact that umesimamishwa na askari and you know hauna hatia. The first thing you do, you go into your pocket, pick whatever cash you have, unamsalimia kinjaro, unamwambia fande, pata chai.
And then now you talk. So he was just saying hi.
And he was just saying hi. But tuseme ukweli, ni ngumu sana askari tu akusalimia. Tuseme ukweli.
Let me speak from my own experience. I've been stopped by cops several times, but from my own experience is, when they stop you, first of all, there is this thing called patience. Be calm. Because labda shida tu alikuwa na kusave. You get it? When a cop stops you, hey bana, you ulikuwa na overspeed. You know, sometimes you can be overtaken. You don't know why somebody is overspeeding. Maybe there's an emergency. In the case of Jain or Regina, there's an emergency somewhere across the other side of the road, and you're rushing there to attend to that emergency. Your mind is already fixed there. Do you know the first thing to say? Habari afande. Habari. You know, there's that cordial relationship between you. Hata kama alikuwa na hasira, let me put it that way. Hata kama alikuwa na hasira against you, he or she will have to. No, it's about that relationship, because when you show or you exhibit that confidence, najua haki yangu, unaniambia nini? So that's what you say. I know my rights. When you start blowing out, you know, I know my rights, this is me, unaniambia nini, nipeleke mbele, you start looking for your phone, I can call so and so. I mean, you are also putting that police officer in a very awkward position, because people are watching. What is she or he going to do about it? Okay, you've been flagged. Amekusimamisha. So what are you going to do?
Where?
And madam, it was just me, you know, the problem is your tire is worn out. Please go and fix it. It's as simple as such. This is a risk.
But this goes to just remind us that as a population, we still look at them as a force.
As a force.
Than a service.
Not a service.
It's still very...
That's what I was talking about. Do we have that mindset between the Mwananchi and the police
skills,
service,
again,
the people's skills?
We have a long way to go.
To shift that mentality.
We have a long way to go, because the truth on ground is
situation ni tricky.
stops you, the first thing you think is that you are on the wrong and you get into defense mode. And also what would help the police service now is those rogue elements, let them be disciplined. And when they are disciplined, let us know about it. And we're not talking about transfers because like this Kanjokoma case that we're talking about. We have seen them paraded, the 6 have been paraded in court. But the people who are in charge have been transferred to somewhere else. So if you transfer this person who was in charge because this thing happened under their watch and you take them to another county somewhere, what are the chances if something else will not be happening there?
Right.
What is the discipline? What, like ukikosa, what is the likely thing for you to let the public know? Because for me, as a public, as far as I'm concerned, that for me was actually callous. They should have actually bore full responsibility and not transfers. Uko mali wanapelekwa, hakuna vijana wenye watakuwa nini curfew? I mean, what are we talking about? Are we moving a problem from one area to another instead of tackling the issue at the moment? We need to do something. That's why I'm concerned. Askari akinisimamisha kwanza nijiangalie. Nimekosa wapi, masaa niko sawa, yani
because it's about the mentality change. We have just to shift that mentality.
We need to change, but it has, as the service is changing, if the service changes, Wanjiko will change, because it began with them, how they treated us.
Okay, Regina, in the next hour we have our guest who is also a security expert. He did security studies from the university. Right?
Is he part of the police service? Staki kuchoma.
All right, just wait. He's a security expert. Did security studies. Probably he'll be in a position to tell us more on that, and just for us to understand what he was taught in the university, how the relationship has been, you know, in terms of the Mwananchi and the police officers, what should be happening, you know, when you're flagged down by a police cop, or probably just walking at night, you're just going away. Mwambia, simama. What do you do? So in terms of general security matters, that's on the viewpoint, again, amongst other things that we are going to discuss. So, Regina, siende mbali. He's also a journalist, by the broadcast journalist. So I'm already threatened that somebody's going to take my job. No. I'm safe.
All right. Yes.
What?